Well, after that Monday Night Football game, I can tell you who's not on the power rankings. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. We're getting closer and closer to the Green Bay Packers being on this Grossi, and today we are going to rank the top 10 teams heading into Week 13. That's right, folks. The days are growing short, and the weeks in the regular season are growing shorter. Who is going to make that playoff push? We're going to see. But before we break down the top 10 teams, I want to do some honorable mentions. The first have to go to the Houston Texans, a hard-fought game with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And yeah, the refs kind of screwed them a little bit, but CJ Stroud just proving to be that guy. And I think the Texans' future is very, very bright. And I also have to do a big shout out to Bills Mafia, the Buffalo Bills, who went into Philadelphia and they battled against the elements. They battled against the reigning, defending NFC champions and also the refs, and they almost came away with the win. And I feel for the Bills right now because it seems like they're involved with the game of the year every single year, but they're also on the losing end every single year. So my sympathy to you. I think they're a good football team. These past 2 weeks without Ken Dorsey, they've proven they can be a good football team and hang with the best. Unfortunately, it might be too little too late, but hey, at least you got an honorable mention. And so, starting off with number 10. I know that I'm going to regret this. You got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, they got a Oh, sorry, Johnny, just edit this out. Hello?
Oh, Tom, you're so silly. You're silly. I told you they are a top 10 team, and the fact that you waited until they had to win 5 games in a row before you put them at 10, that's still too low. This is a team I had at number 1 for weeks, and number 2, and at 2.5, and at 3.5. I had them at 4.5.
I regret this already.
6.5. 7.5, 8.5, 9.5.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was Mike Tomlin. But you get the point. Welcome to the bandwagon. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy it.
Okay, bye-bye now. At number 10, you got the Denver Broncos coming off with a big win against the Cleveland Browns. And yes, when DTR got knocked out of the game, it was pretty much over for the Browns. But the Broncos, you got to put some respect on their name. They've won 5 straight football games and against some pretty darn good teams, including the Chiefs. And their defense has completely turned it around. After allowing 70 points to be scored on them by the Dolphins, their defense has been really, really good. Their offense, they're running the ball more, and while Russell Wilson isn't the greatest, Sean Payton is using him effectively, and that is what a good coach does. They put their players in the best position to succeed, and regardless of their talents or their weaknesses, they find ways to win. And that's what the Broncos are doing right now. They have a very, very important game against the Texans, which could very much decide some playoff rankings heading into the postseason. And so, yeah, you made it into the top 10, and I 100% already regret it. Number 9, that's right, you stay in the top 10. You got the Detroit Lions. Oh, Lions fans. We saw the same old Lions on Thanksgiving.
Oh, no! We suck again!
Whether it was the moon or whether it's because your defense couldn't get any pressure on Jordan Love, the Lions losing to the Green Bay mother-loving Packers on Thanksgiving, and a phenomenal performance by Jordan Love and that Packers defense getting pressure on the Lions, which I was really surprised about because the O-line of the Lions is pretty much the best in football, and the Packers were getting constant pressure. Jared Goff wasn't looking good. The defense wasn't playing better. And while the Lions were able to get a last-minute score, the Packers pretty much had that game in hand. Now, for the Lions, I think they're going to be just fine, and I considered not putting them in the top 10 at all. But I think they will be fine because honestly, they still are probably going to win the division. They got 2 games against the Vikings coming up, and if the Vikings that showed up on Monday Night Football are the ones that show up against the Lions, Detroit will be fine. Then they have the Broncos, but they also have the Cowboys. So they have a few tough games in there, but I think they are very winnable. The Lions should panic at least a little bit because their last 2 games haven't been that great. But overall, I think their offense is still really damn solid. They have so many explosive playmakers. And if Jared Goff is able to get time and protection, then he's going to tear apart whatever secondary you have. So the Lions, you fall down to number 9. I got a lot of crap for putting you at 7 last week. And guess what? Looks like I was right. Sorry. But either way, you're still in the top 10. Let's see how long you can stay there. Number 8, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin doing the right thing by putting down Matt Canada.
Mike, you don't have to do this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do.
And what were the results? 400 yards on offense. You frackin' did it, Steelers, defeating the Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengals. And listen, is it that impressive? No. But I have to admit, the Steelers are a weird-ass football team, but they keep on winning, with the Browns suffering injuries. Of course, the Bengals losing Joe Burrow. It's between the Ravens and the Steelers, and the Steelers are most likely going to make the playoffs. While they do have to play some AFC North opponents, the Steelers are finding ways to win games, and if that offense can come alive, and if Deontay Johnson can actually, do something, they're going to win games, and they're going to be a problem to face in the postseason because they keep finding BS ways to win. So the Steelers, you come in at number 8. I don't even know if you're ever going to make the top 5 on these power rankings, but either way, you're on them. You're aiming towards the postseason. And we all know Steelers going Super Bowl. Number 7, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars coming away with a win against CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. And listen, getting some help by the refs there.
It really is good to have friends.
And I know Jaguars fans are going to look at that and be like, hey, but we played well, and you did. The defense has been solid all year, and the big kind of strike against the Jaguars this season was their loss to the San Francisco 49ers, because that was a major contender, and they got their ass kicked. But last week, their offense looked really good, and you saw those flashes again this week, and they really just have to get Calvin Ridley involved more as well. But the Jaguars have a great team, but I just feel like for the past 13 weeks, I've been saying when the offense gets on board, and we're still kind of waiting. But Trevor Lawrence had over 360 yards. Calvin Ridley did have a touchdown. And again, there's just so many playmakers. Etienne, Ingram, of course, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Trevor Lawrence, who has been kind of okay this season, needs to take that next step. So overall, the Jaguars are in a good position to win the division, though the Texans are hot on their tail. We'll see if they can hold on to their division lead. And right now, they're coming in at number 7. Number 6, you got the Miami Dolphins defeating the New Jersey Jets in the first ever, and potentially the last after that game, Black Friday game, and yeah, that was frackin' ugly. And the Jets, they suited up Tim Boyle instead of Aaron Rodgers.
You idiots! These are not them! You've captured their stunt doubles!
Throwing a Hail Mary at the end of the first half and having it returned for a pick 6. The Dolphins defense did just fine against that Jets offense. And the Dolphins, while they weren't amazing on offense against the really tough Jets defense, they are still beyond favored to win that AFC East. Because the Patriots ain't doing diddly squat. The Jets, they're struggling. And again, while the Bills are good, it's just too little too late in my opinion. So the Dolphins, they just need Devin Achane back to add that extra wrinkle to their offense. And I think they're going to be just fine. But we're going to see if they're going to be able to hang with some of the top contenders. I'm very curious to see what they do in the postseason. And so right now, a win gets them at number 6. And when Achane comes back, I anticipate them climbing even higher in these power rankings. Number 5, you got the Dallas Cowboys kicking the crap out of the Commanders on Thanksgiving. Their defense, absolutely phenomenal. Bland setting records with 5 pick 6s, and he still has time. And Cowboys fans already thinking about the playoffs, which I'm sure will end well.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
But to be very honest with you, this Cowboys team looks a little bit different from years past. And one of the big things that has happened these past 2 weeks is Tony Pollard finally getting involved with the game. Because if Pollard can find his groove and they can get a really good run game established with an already good offense, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott playing very, very well, the Cowboys are going to be a dangerous team. They showed that they can already hang with the Eagles, and once they make it to the postseason, because let's be honest, they will make the playoffs in this NFC conference, they honestly have the team, in my opinion, that could make it to the Super Bowl. Their big knock, of course, is beating teams that don't have winning records. But to be honest, what do you want them to do? That is their schedule. They do have some big games coming up, which will be a bit of a proving ground for them. They do have to play the Eagles again, and I'm very curious to see how they perform in that game. But considering how wonky the NFL is this year, once they make it to the postseason, everybody's got a shot. And the Cowboys, they're sitting at number 5 right now, and let's see how high they can go. Number 4, you got the Baltimore Ravens. Good God. It was not a pretty game on Sunday night, but it was a pretty game for the Ravens defense, holding the Chargers to just 10 points. Justin Herbert not able to do really anything, and Zay Flowers scoring that last TD on the team that passed over him in the draft.
You gonna do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
It's a beautiful thing, though the celebration was interesting. The Ravens are a very good football team, and even though Mark Andrews is out for the foreseeable future, they still are good. Isaiah Likely got a bunch of targets on Sunday, but this just means Lamar Jackson has to spread the ball around. Gus Edwards did not have a great day, but Mitchell has proven to be a very good running back and can fill in just fine. The biggest thing for the Ravens is staying healthy and, of course, consistency. But they were able to knock off the Chargers in primetime on Sunday night. They get the win. They're leading the AFC North. And right now, I don't know if there's another team that's going to take that division from them. So Ravens, enjoy the win. You're currently rocking near the top of the AFC. And if the Ravens get hot heading into the postseason, watch out. They could be Super Bowl contenders. Number 3, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. A little bit of a scare against the Raiders, going down 14-0, and then the Chiefs were like, no, we're going to play now. That defense is just so damn good. Patrick Mahomes kind of finding his groove later on in that game, and they were able to make this a walk in the park against the Raiders. And the Chiefs, they're likely going to win their division. No real struggles there. They're taking on the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. And the last time that these two teams played, it was Jordan Love's first start, and the Chiefs only put up 13 points. So you know that Andy Reid is going to want to embarrass Joe Barry this week.
I'm going to embarrass you at this party, Barry.
What?
I'm going to embarrass you, Barry. It's done. Get ready to be embarrassed.
Which is probably likely because it is Joe Barry. But the Chiefs are a complete football team. Yes, their offense is definitely going through some growing pains right now, especially at receiver, but Rashee Rice has emerged as a really nice target, and he's developing really well as the season's going along. And again, if Travis Kelce has a good game, the Chiefs have a good game. Now, of course, their defense has been the difference maker because their defense is the best that Patrick Mahomes has played with yet in his young career. But overall, the Chiefs coming in at number 3. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. And yeah, let's see how my Packers hang with them.
I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
Number 2, you got the San Francisco 49ers. I almost put them at number 1. Almost. But hey, maybe they'll be number 1 next week after they take on the Eagles. But the 49ers slapped the crap out of the Seahawks on Thanksgiving, and the Seahawks just had no answers for them. Their offense couldn't do anything, and while the Seahawks defense didn't play too poorly, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he just gets into the end zone every single game.
Watch me swing right in. Swing.
Except a couple weeks ago when he didn't continue the streak. But either way, the 49ers are just so damn good. Their defense, especially the pass rushers, addition of Chase Young, has been really, really good. Their secondary is not the best, but it gets masked by those pass rushers. Their offense, I mean, what else do you want to say? Brock Purdy's great. Christian McCaffrey's awesome. Deebo Samuel. They got so many weapons there, and they are going to be a tough team to beat come playoff time. They're playing the Eagles next week. I cannot fracking wait for that game. It's going to be the game we should have gotten in the NFC Championship game. And who knows, we might see a repeat of that game again this postseason. And number one, still holding on to that number one spot, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. Another game in which that first half, it didn't look like it was going the Eagles' way. The offense was struggling. Jalen Hurts wasn't playing his best game. But as the game went along, the Eagles came alive. Jalen Hurts playing a phenomenal second half of football. The defense was able to do a great job against that Bills offense, which was looking pretty damn good, especially because they don't have Ken Dorsey anymore. And the Eagles, in a league which has no front runner or powerhouse team, they are one of the most consistent teams. They're at 10-1. They have the best record in the NFL. And now they're going to be playing the 49ers next week, which is going to be their hardest test yet. The Eagles are still likely going to win their division, though they still have to worry about the Cowboys. Going forward, it's very likely that the road to the Super Bowl through the NFC will run through Philadelphia. And yeah, I can only imagine what Nick Sirianni's going to do if they beat the 49ers. I imagine people are not going to be too happy. But to recap the top 10, at number 1, you got the Eagles, 2 the 49ers, 3 Chiefs, 4 Ravens, 5 Cowboys, 6 Dolphins, 7 Jaguars, 8 Steelers, 9 Lions, and 10 Broncos. But let me know who you think should be on this list, who should be off, and if the Packers beat the Chiefs, they will be on it. You can always find me at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel, and thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi, and as always, go Pack Go.